There's this tension in higher education that feels, I don't know, almost geological. It's been shifting and grinding beneath our feet for decades. It's that classic dinner table argument between, like, the idealist parent and the pragmatist parent.
I think I know the one you mean, the whole expand your mind versus the expand your wallet debate.
That's the one. On one side, you have the purists. For them, college is this sacred grove. It's about reading Plato, learning to think, becoming a whole person.
Education for the sake of the soul.
Exactly. And then sitting right across the table, usually holding the tuition bill, is the pragmatist. And they're looking at that price tag and asking a very uncomfortable question.
Is this actually going to get my kid a job?
Precisely.
It's the ivory tower versus the HR department, right?
Sure.
And we usually treat this as a zero-sum game. The assumption is if you focus on job training, you're somehow selling out the intellectual mission.
Right.
But if you focus purely on the liberal arts, you're just setting graduates up to be the most well-read unemployed people in the city.
It's always framed as an either-or. But today we're diving to a source that claims this is a totally false dichotomy.
Oh, interesting.
We're looking at a framework called Integrating Workforce Readiness into Higher Education. It's from a larger body of work. And its core argument is surprisingly aggressive. It says universities don't just need to tweak their career services.
They need more than a tweak.
They need to completely rebuild their operating systems.
Operating system is exactly the right metaphor here. The source material introduces this concept of comprehensive workforce alignment. And I want to be clear right up front. This isn't just about helping seniors write better resumes.
Which is good, because I think we all have some trauma from the resume critiques of our youth.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But the stakes here are massive. We're in a weird economic moment where employers are screaming they can't find talent, yet you have graduates who are struggling to launch.
And often with a lot of debt.
A lot of debt. The Strata Education Network points out that families are increasingly evaluating colleges based on ROI, return on investment. So this alignment isn't just a nice to have. For a lot of schools, it's becoming a survival strategy.
Okay, so let's tear into this concept. Comprehensive workforce alignment. It sounds a little like, corporate buzzword salad. What does it actually mean?
It does sound like it,
Yeah.
but it's definitely more than a statement. The definition the source gives is the systematic integration of labor market responsiveness, experiential learning, and employer partnerships
Okay.
across the entire institution.
Entire institution is the phrase that really jumps out at me, because usually workforce readiness is something that happens in a specific building.
On the edge of campus.
Yeah, that you ignore until you panic in your last semester.
That is precisely the old model the source wants to dismantle. Think about the traditional college experience. You go to classes for 4 years. Then, maybe in May of your senior year, you realize you need a job, so you sprint over to the Career Center.
The dusty office in the basement.
Often, yes. And that office is usually understaffed, disconnected from what you actually studied. The force argues that model is it's dead.
It can't work anymore.
Doesn't work. Comprehensive alignment means career readiness isn't a service you visit. It's an organizing principle of the degree itself.
So practically, how do you move the Career Center from the basement to the classroom? The source talks about developmental integration.
This is the life cycle approach. So instead of a crisis intervention at the end, the conversation starts on day one.
Day one, like at orientation.
At orientation.
That feels intense. You're 18, you just moved into the dorms, and someone is asking about your 5-year plan.
Well, it's not about locking them into a career path right away. It's about something the researchers call career decision self-efficacy.
Okay.
It just means giving students the tools to understand what's out there. So major exploration shouldn't just be about what classes do I like.
It should be more.
It should be what problems do I want to solve in the world and, who pays people to solve them.
It's connecting the dots early. And the source points to Northeastern University as the gold standard for this. I was reading about their co-op model, and it honestly made me wonder why every school doesn't do this.
I know, but then you realize it's a logistical nightmare to run.
It must be.
It's a massive lift. At Northeastern, students don't just do a summer internship. They alternate semesters of academic study with semesters of full-time work.
And these aren't just like shadowing jobs.
We're not talking fetching coffee.
Yeah.
These are 6-month, full-time, paid positions.
And that totally disrupts the whole 4-year, 8-semester rhythm that universities love.
It does, but look at the outcome. Because this is required for all majors, English, philosophy, engineering, all of them. Students graduate with a resume, not just a transcript. The source notes that 89% of their graduates are employed or in grad school within 9 months.
That's a really strong number.
But the more interesting number to me is the salary. Their starting salaries are significantly above the national average
Why is that?
because employers don't see them as entry level. By the time they grab their diploma, they have a year, maybe more, of professional experience. They've already made their rookie mistakes on someone else's dime.
That makes perfect sense. But here's my skepticism. That works great for Northeastern. They're in Boston, right? Surrounded by industries.
Sure.
What about the liberal arts college in the middle of a cornfield? Or what about the student who just wants to study history? This is where the source brings up this idea of competencies.
Yes. This is the bridge. You've hit on the translation problem. This is a huge focus in the source material.
The what problem?
The translation problem. We have this gap where students learn incredible things, critical analysis, synthesis, research, but they are terrible at explaining those skills to an employer.
Right. The student says, I wrote a 20-page paper on the French Revolution. The employer hears, I know a lot of trivia about dead French people.
Exactly. The employer doesn't see the underlying skill. So the solution is curriculum-embedded workforce competencies.
Okay, what does that mean?
It involves taking frameworks, like the NC competencies, that's the National Association of Colleges and Employers,
Got it.
which list things employers want. Critical thinking, communication, teamwork. And the university maps these directly to the syllabus.
So on the syllabus, instead of just saying final project, research paper, it explicitly says, this assignment demonstrates collaborative problem solving and data analysis.
It makes the implicit explicit. And this is so crucial because, contrary to popular belief, employers actually value liberal arts outcomes. They want people who can think ethically and communicate clearly.
You just need to see it.
They need the connection made for them.
Now, there's a university mentioned in the source that takes this competency idea and basically straps a rocket to it. Western Governors University.
WGU.
Yeah.
They've completely decoupled learning from time.
How does that even work?
Well, in a traditional university, the constant is time and the variable is learning. You sit in a chair for 15 weeks. Some learn a lot, some learn a little, but everyone gets the same credit hours if they pass.
The butts and seats model.
Right. WGU flicks it. The constant is learning. The variable is time. You don't pass a class until you prove you have mastered the competency.
So if you can prove it in 3 days because you've been working in the field for 10 years.
Great. Pass the assessment and move on. If it takes you 6 months, that's fine too.
That has to terrify traditional academics, doesn't it? The idea that you can just test out of a college education.
It challenges the notion that education requires marinating for a certain period of time. But the market loves it. The source highlights that WGU has an 80% employer satisfaction rate with their graduates.
80%.
Compared to a national average of just 58%.
Wow. That is a damning gap for the traditional model. 58% is barely a coin flip.
It just shows that employers value the transparency. When a WGU grad says, I can do this, they've passed a rigorous assessment proving it. It removes the guesswork.
So we've got the career center evolving, the curriculum changing, but we need to talk about the relationship between the university and the company. The source warns against the go find an internship approach.
It calls it dangerous.
Why dangerous?
Because go find an internship is unstructured. It's the Wild West. Without oversight, an internship can easily become unpaid labor with zero learning.
Right. The student ends up just filing papers or
fetching coffee, yes.
Yeah.
The source argues for structured partnerships.
So this means the university isn't just handing off the student.
They're co-designing the experience. It involves mutual commitments, faculty oversight. But my favorite example is the Purdue Polytechnic Institute. They created the Advanced Manufacturing Partnership.
And what did they do?
They solved a huge problem most universities have: equipment costs.
Oh, right, because if you're training people for advanced manufacturing, you need millions of dollars of robots.
And universities don't have that cash lying around. So Purdue created a consortium. The employers actually place their advanced equipment on campus or open up their facilities for students.
That's brilliant. The companies get a pipeline of workers trained on their specific machines.
And the university doesn't have to buy a robot that will be obsolete in 3 years. The outcome: 85% of the interns in that program get job offers.
It eliminates the job search friction.
Completely.
Now, I want to touch on something else about partnerships that really caught my eye: stackable credentials. This seems to be the answer for the student who says 4 years is a long time to wait for a paycheck.
This is a massive trend. The idea is to embed industry certifications, these micro-credentials, inside the degree program.
Embedded is the key word there. It's not do your degree and also study for this other test on the weekend.
No, it's not an add-on. Southern New Hampshire University is the case study here. For their tech students, they aligned the coursework with CompTIA certifications, A plus D, Network plus Mac, that kind of thing.
So by passing the class, you're also prepped for the industry exam.
You're double dipping. You get the college credit and the industry badge at the same time.
And think about the resilience that creates. I mean, life happens. Students drop out.
Right. In the old model, if you drop out after 2 years, you have debt and nothing to show for it.
Nothing.
In this model, you might walk away with 3 or 4 industry-recognized certifications that can get you a decent job immediately.
It turns the degree into a staircase rather than a cliff. You can stop at any landing and still be okay.
And SNHU reports 94% employment within 6 months for these programs. It just validates the idea that you don't have to choose between training and education. You can layer them.
Okay, but we have to stop here and address the elephant in the room. Or maybe it's the elephant in the bank account. All of these things, internships, co-ops, credentials, they sound great, but historically, who gets to do them?
Wealthy students.
Right. The equity imperative segment of the source was pretty blunt about this.
Right.
If you don't design these programs carefully, you're just building a faster express lane for the kids who are already winning.
It comes down to social capital and financial reality. Who can afford to take an unpaid internship in D.C. for the summer?
The student whose parents can pay the rent.
And who finds out about the internship in the first place? The student whose uncle plays golf with the CEO. So if a university just says, everyone should do an internship, but doesn't provide support, they're basically penalizing their poor students.
They're reinforcing the existing hierarchy.
Exactly. So the source advocates for equity-centered design. This means the university has to actively remove the barriers. But the most impressive example of this is Georgia State University.
I love the Georgia State story because it's not about grand gestures. It's about Moneyball. They use data to find the cracks where students fall through.
They use predictive analytics. But they found something fascinating. They realized students were dropping out often in their senior year over incredibly small amounts of money. A few $100s in unpaid fees, a broken car transmission.
That's just heartbreaking. You do 3 years of work and quit because of a $400 car repair.
So they created the Bantha Retention Grant. These are microgrants. And there's no application process.
Wait, no application? They just give it to them.
The system flags a student at risk, and the university just deposits the money into their account to clear the hold. Because if you make them apply, the students who need it most often won't do it.
Wow.
And the result? Georgia State has effectively eliminated the achievement gap based on race and income.
That is a staggering achievement. It proves the barrier isn't usually intellectual capability.
It's often just a $400 pothole in the road. And by smoothing the road, you ensure that workforce readiness isn't just a privilege for the elite.
So we've fixed the career center, the curriculum, the partnerships, and equity. But there's one final problem the source identifies: the clock.
The challenge of speed.
Yeah, the world is moving really, really fast. By the time a university committee approves a new syllabus on artificial intelligence, the tech has probably changed 3 times.
Higher education is designed to be slow and deliberative. The tech sector is designed to move fast and break things.
So how do you bridge that?
You need what the source calls labor market intelligence. Basically, universities need data analysts, spies, if you prefer your term, who are tracking regional industry trends in real time.
Spies makes it sound cooler, but it's market research.
It is. The Alamo Colleges district in Texas is the model here. They have a team that produces quarterly reports on high-demand occupations. But here's the hard part. They act on the data.
Meaning they cut things.
Yes. If a program is leading to low wages, they have the difficult conversations about scaling it back. And if they see a shortage in, say, cybersecurity, they expedite new programs.
That requires a level of agility most faculty senates would fight tooth and nail.
It does. It requires strong leadership and a distributed model. Arizona State University tackles this with a hub-and-spoke model. They embed their career advisors inside the academic colleges.
So the engineering career advisor actually sits in the engineering building.
Exactly. They breathe the same air. They know the specific industry trends for that field. A generalist in a central office can't possibly know the hiring trends for journalism and biochemistry.
It makes the institution faster.
And more responsive.
So pulling this all together, we started with this idea that you have to choose between Plato and a paycheck.
And I think the source makes a compelling case for the both-and solution. You need the critical thinking and the ethics, the Plato part, to navigate a complex world. but you need the technical skills and the experience, the paycheck part, to actually get a seat at the table.
And the data supports it. These high-impact practices we talked about, internships, capstones, they lead to 15–20% higher employment rates.
But I think there's a philosophical shift here, too. It redefines the social contract of the university. If you're going to take 4 years of a person's life and tens of thousands of dollars, you have a moral obligation to make sure they can survive on the other side.
It changes the university from an ivory tower into an engine.
I would leave the listener with one final thought, though, something that pushes this even further.
Let's hear it.
If universities successfully become these data-driven, deeply partnered anchor institutions,
Yeah.
does the definition of a student need to change?
In what way?
Well, right now, we treat college like a hotel stay. You check in, you stay for 4 years, you check out, gone.
Right.
But if the economy's changing this fast, maybe the university shouldn't be a place you visit once. Maybe it needs to be a subscription service.
A subscription to the university.
Imagine if you never really graduated. You just moved to the next tier of membership. You come back every few years to stack a new credential, learn a new technology, pivot your career. The university becomes a lifelong partner in your economic survival.
Netflix for your brain. That is, honestly, that's a business model I'd probably sign up for.
It might be the only way to keep up.
Well, on that slightly terrifying but exciting note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. We hope this gave you a new lens to look at the degree hanging on your wall or the one you're paying for right now.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.